Good morning, this is video 38. We have some very special new exercises today. Variations. It's becoming more and more interesting the further along the path we go. So let's just get started. Close your eyes for a minute. Tilt the pelvis a little bit forward, the back in a very gentle curve, hollow back. Hands on the knees, shoulders relaxed but a little bit pulled back. Breathe deep and calm. Clear the mind. Slowly come back. We start with Bhujanasana, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana and Adho Mukha Svanasana. So that is the cobra pose. Then increasing intensity, that becomes upper dog. And from upper dog we transition into the downward dog. And we end with the child pose to take a little rest. So lie down on the belly. Arms alongside, because the cobra pose doesn't start with the hands and then pulling up, pushing up. You start by raising the head, followed by the upper body as much as possible. Basically like a snake does, like a cobra does. So you go up as high as possible, using all those muscles in your core, and only then you put your hands on the ground. And you fully extend your arms. Do not try to keep the hips on the ground, because it results in a very cramped position that is not working. It's not effective. Fully engage the upper body, but do relax the legs and the buttocks. Many teachers will tell you to tense the muscles in the buttocks and the legs. Don't. We do that in the upper dog. So here all the work is done in the upper body. We transition to Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, the upper dog, standing on the balls of the feet. We now work with the whole body, and if we do this correctly, we activate the arms, we push a little bit back, increasing the curve of the back, increasing the intensity of the back bend. From Urdhva Mukha Svanasana we transition into Adho Mukha Svanasana without bending the arms and the legs. Feel free to adjust the position of the hands and the feet. And notice I have my feet spread, shoulder width approximately. It's very unstable and unnatural to keep your feet together. For aesthetic purposes that may look nice, but it's not natural. And then we slowly come back. We take a little rest in the child pose. Interesting anecdote. Child pose is Pindasana. Pinda is not a child but an embryo, a fetus, while the baby is still in the womb. Pinda, for Dutch people, means peanut. And I'm sure that not many people know where the word comes from. We just use it in daily language without ever finding out what it means, where it comes from. But if you look at a peanut, it has this little curve at the top, and it does resemble a little bit, or not even a little bit, even a lot, a fetus, an embryo. Pinda, Pindasana. Okay, next pose is familiar. After that we have the variations I mentioned, and they are all variations of this pose. Janu Shirsasana. You straighten the right leg, you bend the left leg, an angle of approximately 120 degrees. The angle may change a little bit while you engage, but this is the starting point. It's asymmetric, but we always pursue to make it as symmetric as possible. So we don't bend sideways, but we turn towards this leg. We face this leg with our upper body. Reach for the foot and try to bend forward without bending the back. Slowly come back. You notice in total contrast with any other exercising form of exercise, you notice you do an exercise, you stay still, no movement, and it totally changes your condition, it totally changes your mood. That is the real power, the real secret of yoga. It's actually knowing this, or even more so experiencing this. It's very difficult to understand why these days 99% of all yoga classes are very similar to normal exercise and never having this wonderful effect of changing your condition deeply inside, making you calm, peaceful, contemplative in a very natural way. And it's this easy. Okay, let's switch. Inhale deep, exhale, reach for the foot, try to bend forward from the hips without bending the back. You just close your eyes, you breathe deep and calm, and that's it. Consolidate. Not relaxing in the pose, you do engage actively, but without movement. And then we slowly come back in the tailor pose. You relax for a moment. Then we have Triyang Mukha Ikkapada Paschimottanasana. Try to repeat. Triyang Mukha Ikkapada Paschimottanasana. I'll buy you an ice cream if you can. Tri means three, Anga means limb, Mukha means face, Ikkapada one leg, Paschimottanasana is stretching up the west or the backside. Well, it sounds very complicated. It's a combination. You remember Virasana, the hero pose? One leg bent like in Virasana. The other leg straight like in Janu Shirsasana. Asymmetric, it's tricky because this leg is bent, it puts pressure trying to push you over. So you have to work already just to sit straight. And the next step is that we bend forward. So inhale deep, exhale, focus on the tilt of the pelvis, try to do this again without bending the back. Look, bending the back is very easy. Not bending the back takes work. We have to work. And it is work that leads to the good effects that yoga promises. Do not relax in the pose. Push the buttocks back. Push the belly down to the thigh. Tuck in the chin. Elongate the spine. Okay, slowly come back. In the tailor pose, take a little rest. Then we switch. One leg straight, half Virasana, Let's repeat the name of the exercise. Triyang Mukha Ikkapada Paschimottanasana. Inhale deep. Exhale, focus on the tilt of the pelvis, try to keep the back straight. If necessary, only if necessary, you can modify the pose a little bit. You will notice that you struggle to stay stable and straight. If you really cannot avoid being pushed over by the pressure here, you can put one hand on the ground, but don't put the hand forward, because then you bend the back, you become passive. Put the hand a little bit behind, and it will actually propel you forward with a straight back. Then if you're very flexible and you can go down more without bending the back, you can put an elbow on the ground to steady yourself. But do keep the back straight as possible. Slowly come back, take a little rest in the tailor pose. Then we have another tongue breaker. Good things always come in pairs of two. Artha Pada Padma Paschimottanasana. Try to repeat that. Artha Pada Padma Paschimottanasana. Artha means half. Artha Pada Padma. Pada means restrained. So half restrained lotus. Padma means lotus. And then again Paschimottanasana. So variation on Janu Shirsasana, the forward bend. Artha Pada Padma Paschimottanasana. You start. One leg straight. Artha Pada Padma is this. Dit is Artha Padma, and Pada is restrained with your hand. The hand goes around the back. Do not bother about the knee. Eventually the knee will come down to the ground. If it is not, just leave it as it is. If you cannot grab the foot, many people in the beginning can't, use a strap. Put a strap around the foot, but do not grab it passively. Try to grab the strap as close to the foot as possible. Then holding tight, you bend forward. Paschimottanasana. Again, if possible, with a straight back, or as straight as possible, actively elongating the spine. Slowly come back. Take a little rest in the tailor pose. In Dutch we call this the tailor pose also. I understand in English You can call it tailor pose or cobbler pose. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below the video. Okay, we switch. One leg straight, half lotus, restrained by holding the foot with the arm around the back. Inhale deep, exhale, bend forward. Focus on the tilt of the pelvis. Try to keep the back as straight as possible. And we slowly come back. Relax for a moment. We have two more variations, very interesting. The first one, not so bad. The second one is what we typically call a pretzel pose. Let's start with the first one. Don't worry yet about the pretzel. Marichi 1, Marichi. Marichi is the name of a sage from the ancient past. You straighten one leg, you bend the other one with the knee up. You pull the heel back, but it doesn't have to be entirely in the groin, it's somewhere between the hip and the knee. Okay? What is important though, is that both buttocks stay on the ground. So many practitioners do this with one buttock up, because that is how it naturally goes. However, yoga being the science of control, we don't go with what happens naturally. We do things properly aligned. What is wrong with raising one buttock in this case is that it will bend the back sideways. We want the back to be symmetric as we possibly can. There are of course exceptions. There are poses where you are bent, but not in this case. Bend forward and join the hands behind the back. And then again, it's easy to bend, it's more difficult and more effective to keep the back as straight as possible. I'm going to turn sideways, maybe easier for you to see what I'm doing. One leg straight, one leg bent. You wrap the arm around the leg and you bend forward without, or at least keeping the back as straight as possible. It's very challenging here because the one leg bend kind of forces the back to bend when you bend forward. So you have to work harder. And one thing that you do to straighten the back is by using the left arm that is wrapped around the leg. Use it as a lever. I push with my bicep against my shin and I propel myself forward. It helps me to straighten and elongate the back. And notice that both buttocks stay on the ground. Slowly come back, take a little rest. Then we switch. See how it works? Not everybody will be able to join the hands in this way behind the back. Like the previous exercise, you can use a strap. Okay? Inhale deep, exhale, bend forward, and try to actively straighten and elongate the back, lengthen the spine. Both buttocks on the ground. Flex the foot, don't point the toes, flex the foot. Okay. Slowly come back. Take a little rest in the tailor pose. Then we have Marichasana too. I'm just contemplating the difficulty of this pose. Marichi 2, the leg that was straight just before is now a half lotus. We did like this just before, half lotus, before you bend this leg. See what is happening? This knee has to go down. This leg was straight just before. In the beginning it's a little bit confusing. It's complicated. Complex, complicated. We did this just before. This leg is now going to bend, but the knee must go down. And this exercise, one buttock is allowed to come off the floor. Okay? Like the previous exercise, Marichi 1, you wrap the arm around the back and you join the hands, and don't bend forward in the middle, bend forward in line with your right thigh. Put your chin on your knee. Okay, slowly come back. Now, does this look like a pretzel or not? You see, you must have noticed that the more difficult it becomes, the more fun I have. I'm really enjoying this. Just playing with the difficulties that we face. What is the value in all this? Are we just frivolous and foolish and stupid? No. If you can deal with difficulties in your yoga practice like this, it very naturally integrates into your daily life, and it is the way that you deal with difficulties in daily life. So just practice. Don't make things complicated in your mind. The benefits from yoga come naturally and much, much more than you ever dare to dream of, ever dare to expect. Okay, half lotus, this foot pulled up, and then we join the hands, chin on the knee. And then we slowly come back. This is so nice. energy that you free up, that you release, is priceless. And it's free. There's no hangover. Usually, to have a nice feeling, a nice experience, we drink some alcohol or we use some drugs. But it always has repercussions. There's always payback. With yoga, there's no payback. It's free. And it's priceless. It's just amazing. Obviously, this is a difficult pose, and yoga is not about difficult poses. Yoga is about gradually developing. You start with the tree pose, with the triangle pose, with the forward bend, with the back bend. Yes, advanced poses are difficult, complex, but if you approach yoga properly, systematically, you will gradually develop strength and flexibility and skill, and in a very natural way, with patience and determination and regular practice. One day you find yourself being able to do something like this. If you cannot do Marichi 2, don't become frustrated, don't be sad or disappointed in yourself. Forget it. It's not fair. I practiced yoga 36 years. Almost 37. It comes very naturally to me, but that took 37 years. So focus on what you can do rather than being unsatisfied, dissatisfied with what you cannot do. Right? You notice very quickly when you start practicing yoga, you notice improvement. Focus on the improvement. That gives such a good feeling. The glass is half full then, rather than half empty. That kind of attitude, positive thinking. In yoga we call that contentment. It's very important to make that switch, to start living a life that is satisfying then, rather than disappointing. Okay, meditation. Settle yourself on your cushion, folded blanket or towel. Close the eyes, breathe deep and calm, hands on your knees. 5 minutes. Okay, slowly open the eyes again. It's marvelous, isn't it? I hope one day, just like me, you'll fall in love with yoga. Not as a fashion, not as a trend, but because it makes you feel so good. The very first time I practiced yoga as a 20-year-old boy, I didn't even know it was yoga. It was with a basketball coach who told us to sit down in between practice. And he told us to do things that one of us said, "Hey coach, what the hell is this?" And he said, "That's yoga, my friend." And it felt so good. It felt like as if I had been looking for this all my life. The same day, after practice was finished, basketball, I went to the library looking for a book about yoga, and I found one. Modern yoga did not exist yet. It was traditional yoga, a book written in the 50s. It was simply titled Teach Yourself Yoga, in the Reader's Digest series of Teach Yourself. Teach yourself cooking, gardening, teach yourself yoga. Ever since then, I've been practicing every day, and it totally changed my life. I have become yoga, and yoga has become me. The ultimate fusion, the ultimate unity. That's what it really means. Thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely day, and I look forward to being with you in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.